Welcome to the beginning of statistics. This chapter and section starts off with data and graphs. So first, just a little bit about data. So data is information, and we look at two different types of information. You could say categorical information, so things we categorize. Sometimes that's also referred to as qualitative, some quality something has. And examples of this are, for example, color. Right? Something could be red or green or some other interesting color. Our gender, people could be male, female, or other. Sometimes it could be answers to something like yes or no. Could be something you like to do, some activity. So anything that has a quality that we can put a word to is a category, and it's a quality of something, and that is a kind of data. Now, we can't do something like find an average activity. That's kind of weird. You don't add up words and then divide. So there's some kinds of statistics and graphs we apply to categorical data that's different than we apply to numerical data. So then there's numerical data. All different kinds of numerical data. Often numerical data is called quantitative. And we've been playing with qualitative and quantitative data all quarter. We've been categorizing things, we've been counting things, we've been measuring things, and we're going to play more with that. So as far as numerical, sometimes numerical would be something that we count, or it could be something that we measure. When we count something, that's called discrete data. When we measure something, that's often called continuous data. So what kinds of things do we measure? Well, we measure heights, lengths, weights, all kinds of things. Crazy pen there. Many other things. And then we count things like cell phones and people and chairs, flowers, all kinds of things that we count. The kinds of graphs we make depend on the type of data that we have, whether it's quantitative or qualitative, and if it's quantitative, whether it's something that we count or it's something that we measure. And so the rest of this section is about graphs we make with these different kinds of data. The most common kind of graph we make is a bar chart, and there's many versions of bar charts. So I was curious what people like to do for recreation, and so I asked a bunch of friends and family, what's your primary recreation? And I re-summarized it to be a little bit more general, because some people said run or walk or bike ride, or they do an exercise class. And so 6 of my friends said they like to exercise as their primary recreation, and another 6 friends they watch videos. Maybe it's on YouTube or Netflix or Hulu or wherever. Some like to play video games or other kinds of games. I have a friend that's into escape rooms, and 4 of my friends said games were their primary recreation. Others said music, and one of them plays music and the other just listens to a lot of music. Coding, I have a friend who programs for fun, and I have another friend who gardens for fun. So this is some information where I'm categorizing. So this is qualitative data, and I'm counting up how many are in each group. This type of graph right here, one could call a bar chart, because I could draw a bar around this with my little drawing tool. And I could draw a bar around that, and so on. So this could be considered a bar chart. When I just mark off X's like this, or maybe I could put dots, then it would be called a dot plot often. Sometimes they're called line charts, which is kind of a weird name. So at first, when I just did the green X's, I would call this a dot plot. And I could then put a bar around it, and now it's a bar chart. Usually when we have a bar chart, we have some kind of scale that goes with it, just in case that's not obvious. And so if I were to scale this, maybe down at the bottom, I would put an axis, and I would label it 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And other times, we're not going to label 1 through 6 because I might have a lot more people. So I have friends on Facebook who have thousands of friends, and most of those thousands of friends might reply to their query about favorite activity. So theirs might be 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 for the scale. And every time we make a graph, it's going to be a little bit different. The more numbers I have, then I might switch. Instead of doing it by hand, I might move over to a spreadsheet. So I'll have another video about making graphs on spreadsheets. Sometimes instead of having a horizontal bar, we have a vertical column. And a column chart and a bar chart are the same thing. A dot plot is a version of a bar chart. When you use a spreadsheet, often you'll have a choice between making a bar chart or a column chart. And we'll just play with those. So do some reading and think about what could you categorize and count, because that's one of your first activities. So a couple of other examples of charts. In my spreadsheet here, I have to pay a water bill each month, and when I pay the bill, they tell me how much water I use that month, and they measure it, they call it HCF, which is 100 cubic feet of water is their measurement. And you can see that I use more in the summer. This must have been a hot September. This past September, and then I didn't use very much water in the winter. And they display that information for me as a bar chart. In order for me to put it in the spreadsheet, I had to retype their numbers, that what I thought I saw in the bar chart, to display here. And they went the other way. They already had the data in the spreadsheet. Their spreadsheet made a graph, and they sent me that in my bill. Pictograph is a common way of displaying data sometimes, and you'll see these in the news or maybe in books. So I was checking out with friends of mine that have cats. How many cats do you have? And so my friend Linda has 6 cats. I have 3 cats. My friend Margaret has 3 cats. My friend Chuck has 2 cats, and I have 1 cat. So this is a bar chart, columns in this case, but I'm using little pictures to represent. And sometimes it could be the cat, could represent something else. Maybe it could be a water jug instead, and instead of one thing of water, it could be you could have 1.5 jugs in the picture. So sometimes they'll use these pictures and they'll only show half of the image. Half a cat's kind of weird, although I do have a 3-legged cat across the street. Anyway, that's it for this video. I'm going to try to keep these short and to the point. Do good math, stay in touch. Miss y'all. Bye-bye.